Hey, so let's talk about system reliability. You know those conversations, the ones that are all feelings and guesswork? Today, we're going to change that. We're going on a journey to turn that confusion into clear, data-driven conversations. Let's get into it.
Yeah, this one. This probably sounds pretty familiar, right? We've all been there, trading hunches and anecdotes about how a system is doing. This is the kind of chat that happens when you don't really have a handle on your monitoring, and it's exactly what we're going to learn how to fix.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. Think of it as our map. We're going to start with the why, why this stuff even matters. Then we'll build up from the absolute foundation, which is monitoring. From there, we'll see how to turn failures into real progress. And finally, we'll look at the actual journey an SRE team takes in the real world. So to get past those vague feelings and stories, we really need a shared framework, a common language that's built on objective data, not just gut feelings. And that's exactly where our guide for this whole conversation comes in.
And this is it. This is our map. It's called the Dickerson Hierarchy of Reliability. It's a really powerful tool that gives us a structured way to think about, to talk about, and ultimately to improve our systems, starting right from the bottom and working our way up. Okay, let's start our climb at what is, without a doubt, the most important level: monitoring and observability. So why is it the foundation? Well, because it answers the most fundamental question you can ask. Are things getting better, or are they getting worse? I mean, without this, you're basically just flying blind.
And check this out. This is what's so cool. This slide completely transforms that first conversation we heard. Over on the left, you've got hunches. I get the sense. I haven't been paged. But on the right, that's a shared reality, and it's all based on data. When you start using things like service-level objectives or SLOs and tracking key metrics, you can have a real, productive discussion. It's a total game changer.
So having a system you trust is absolutely crucial. But what happens when nobody trusts it? This actually brings me to a little cautionary tale, a true story that came out of a real SRE interview.
And there it is. That's the punchline. The candidate explained that they had 2 full-time employees whose job was to manage a system that everyone in the company ignored because it was just too noisy. So here's the point. A monitoring system that isn't trusted, it's not just useless, it's a massive flashing red flag for your entire organization.
All right, so even with the best monitoring in the world, things are still going to break. It's just a fact of life. So let's move up to the next levels of the hierarchy and see how we can handle outages, and this is the important part: actually learn from them.
Level 2 is all about incident response. And really, this is just about having a plan. It's about making sure that every single outage doesn't feel like you're running around with your hair on fire. This is how you protect the humans in the system, especially the folks on call, from totally burning out. It's what makes all this reliability work sustainable in the long run.
Now we get to my favorite level, the post-incident review. I just love this part because it feels almost like magic. See? An outage is always a loss. Loss of time, money, customer trust. But this level, this is like the counterspell that lets you transform that loss into something incredibly valuable, learning that makes your system stronger. I want you to sit with this question for a second, because it's a big one, and it comes from the field of resilience engineering. We are always so obsessed with finding the one root cause of a failure. But what about the day before, when everything was working perfectly? What was the root cause of that success? This question just completely shatters that simplistic idea of a single cause and makes you appreciate how complex our systems really are. So we've covered reacting to problems and learning from them. Now let's climb to the very top of the pyramid. This is where the whole focus shifts from being reactive to being proactive, to preventing failures from ever even happening in the first place.
Up here at level 4, we're talking about things like automated testing and really smart release pipelines to catch bugs before they ever see the light of day. And then at level 5, we have to deal with the kind of weird truth. Success itself can be a threat. Think about it. If your site gets super popular but can't handle the traffic, as far as your customers are concerned, it's broken. There's no difference.
Okay, so we've got our map, the hierarchy. It's clean, it's logical, but a map isn't always the same as the actual terrain. So let's look at how this plays out in the messy, real-world journey that most SRE teams actually take as they grow.
Pretty much every single SRE team starts out right here, as the firefighter. There are problems, fires are burning, and the team gets hired to put them out. You just run from one crisis to the next until hopefully things calm down and you actually have a minute to breathe and think about other things.
So after a year of non-stop firefighting, it's only natural to think, hey, things are stable. How do we keep it this way?
And the first instinct is often to become a gatekeeper. Control every change, keep the forces of disruption away from your precious production environment. It makes a certain kind of sense, but it is a total trap.
And this is exactly why that trap is so dangerous. If you stay in that gatekeeper mode for too long, you just make everyone else's life miserable. It creates friction and resentment, it slows everybody down, and at the end of the day, it just doesn't scale. People will always find a way around you if you become a roadblock.
So how do you get out of that trap? Well, you attack the problem, not the people. You sit down with the developers, you figure out the common issues, and then you codify all those rules into automated checks. The computer becomes the enforcer, not the SRE team. And that frees you up to build golden paths, the easy, supported, well-lit way for developers to do the right thing.
All right, we've seen the map of the hierarchy, and we've walked through the common paths of the journey. Now, let's put it all together and build a compass, something with clear directions to help guide you and your team toward a healthy and really effective SRE practice.
First, here are some big, flashing, wrong way signs to watch out for. If your only job becomes handling the pager for another team, or you only get called in when there's a 5-alarm fire, you're not really fulfilling the SRE mission. These are signs that your SRE team has kind of lost its way.
But on the other hand, here are the really positive signs to look for. The whole dynamic changes. It goes from you having to push your way into the room to other teams pulling you in for help. You'll hear people start using your language, SLOs, error budgets, and maybe the best sign of all, people start noticing the outages that didn't happen because of the proactive work you're doing. So as we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this one question to take back to your own team. Looking at this map and thinking about the journey we just talked about, where are you right now? And more importantly, what's the very next step you need to take?